You've likely heard of the Sigma male. Maybe you've seen the personality breakdowns, the mindset comparisons, but this isn't about rehashing definitions. This is about uncovering a side of him that most people completely overlook, his frighteningly sharp mind. This isn't surface-level intelligence, the kind that racks up quiz show points or crushes academic tests. No, this is something deeper, subtle, strategic. It's the kind of intelligence that doesn't crave the spotlight, but quietly reshapes outcomes. You might have seen a lot of people out there go to motivational classes, TEDx speeches, and then go home, post it on LinkedIn or Instagram stories and forgot why they went there. They do it just to create the noise. While the world gets tangled in noise and distractions, Sigma males are tuned in to patterns, behaviors, and underlying motives. They're rarely the loudest, but often the most insightful presence in any room. Their power lies in watching systems closely, mastering them silently, and bending them to work in their favor. They don't crack under pressure, they analyze it. They don't need validation to confirm their path. And when they do take action, it's deliberate, sharp, and often changes the game completely. This breakdown explores the distinct ways their intellect shows up quietly, confidently, and with incredible precision. You'll understand how Sigma minds function beneath the surface, and why that silence is more commanding than any shout. 1. Analytical depth that cuts through noise. Sigma men are thinkers by default. While most people respond emotionally or impulsively, the Sigma steps back, observes, analyzes. They don't make assumptions, they dismantle problems to understand them from the ground up. They ask not just what happened, but why, what triggered it, and what's the foundational cause. This mindset often leads to breakthroughs others completely overlook. They're not interested in sounding smart. They want the truth. During conversations, they may seem distant, but in reality, they're absorbing everything. Tone, words, expressions, even what's left unsaid. That's why they're hard to deceive. They pick up on subtle inconsistencies and store away insights that later turn into strategic moves. They thrive in detail-heavy environments, engineering, data, finance, anywhere where focus and logic dominate. They rarely speak up just to contribute. But when they do, they point out the detail no one else noticed, and suddenly it all makes sense. Their minds are always zoomed out, spotting patterns, systems, and better ways to operate. And they don't seek feedback, they measure their progress by results. This type of thinking is powerful, quiet, intentional, and always ahead of the curve. 2. Creative problem solving without the flash. Sigma males aren't just logical, they're inventive. But their creativity isn't flamboyant. It shows up in how they solve problems. When others hit a wall, they find an opening. They don't rely on old solutions. They deconstruct the problem, understand the core elements, and rebuild smarter systems from scratch. They prefer thinking solo, where the noise fades and ideas take form. That's when they do their best work, when no one's watching. They take risks, but only after mapping out the terrain. What seems like a bold move to others is often a well-calculated strategy on their part. This mindset appears in small hacks or major life moves, streamlining tasks no one thought to question, or launching ideas based on overlooked trends. Their thoughts are always running experiments, testing, improving, building. And the end result? Solutions that don't just fix things, they shift the entire playing field. 3. Emotional intelligence used strategically. To some, the Sigma man may come across as cold, but that's just the surface. Underneath is a high emotional IQ used deliberately. They don't wear emotions on their sleeve. They don't overshare, but they're experts at reading people. Mood shifts, subtle cues, body language, they notice what others don't. It's not guesswork, it's focused awareness. They understand social energy, even if they don't enjoy it. In a group, they can quickly detect who's genuine, who's insecure, who's putting on a mask. And unlike many, they don't get swept up in chaos. While others argue or panic, the Sigma male stays calm, thinking, calculating, staying grounded. They use emotions as data, not directions. They can process feelings without letting them override logic. That's why they're so difficult to manipulate. In relationships, they're deeply loyal, but their standards are high. They seek sincerity, substance, and space. If they sense dishonesty or drama, they detach instantly. They may not be social butterflies, but when life gets messy, people instinctively turn to the one who stays composed, the Sigma. 4. Independence. That's tactical, not just solitary. Sigma males aren't just lone wolves for the aesthetic. They operate alone because it works better. They're not avoiding people, they're avoiding inefficiency. Most social groups slow things down. They value freedom of thought, movement, and decision-making. But that freedom isn't reckless, it's paired with accountability. They research, they plan, they think in years, not moments. That long-term approach helps them move with certainty and avoid dependency. At work, they become quiet leaders, those who get things done without drama or a need for titles. In life, they're masters of their time, resources, and energy. If something no longer aligns, be it a job, habit, or relationship, they walk away. No arguments, no lingering, just action. It's not emotional, it's strategic. They don't invest energy into broken systems they didn't design. They just move forward smarter, leaner, freer. 5. Extreme adaptability. What makes Sigma males especially dangerous in the best way is how quickly they evolve. They don't get stuck in identities or routines. They don't resist change. They study it. When circumstances shift, they don't collapse, they pivot. And they often thrive while others are still figuring out what just happened. They absorb skills fast. They learn from every experience. One moment they're diving into AI, the next into finance or philosophy. This isn't random, it's purposeful. They want to be versatile, not to impress, but to be ready. Drop them in a new job, a different culture, or even a crisis, they'll adapt. Learn the unspoken rules and outperform those who've been there for years. They don't talk about it, they just do it. That silent competence is what makes them unstoppable and hard to pin down. 6. A hunger for knowledge that never ends. For a Sigma male, learning isn't a phase, it's a way of life. They aren't driven by diplomas or status. They're driven by curiosity. While others slow down after school or a promotion, Sigma males keep exploring. They research, they test ideas, they chase better understanding. This makes them nearly impossible to fool. When the world is chasing trends, they've already studied the underlying truths. They blend disciplines using biology to understand business or history to shape the future. They see patterns no one else does, and they don't wait for someone to push them. They self-direct, learn new languages, dive into new skills, all by choice, all with focus. They're humble because they know how much they don't know. But that's what drives them to keep growing. They don't pretend to be experts. They become experts. Not for applause, but because mastery is its own reward. On a final note, the Sigma male's intelligence doesn't shout, it doesn't compete. It simply operates silently, precisely, and effectively. While most are climbing ladders, chasing attention, or fitting into molds, the Sigma is studying the entire system from a distance. Not because he's antisocial, but because he's most powerful when left alone. That solitude breeds insight, strategy, strength. He doesn't just solve problems, he rewrites rules. He doesn't just survive change, he anticipates it. He doesn't need applause, because his actions speak loud enough. And that's what catches people off guard, how much can be accomplished by someone who isn't trying to be seen. In a world full of noise, the Sigma mind becomes a weapon. Quiet, sharp, relentless. They don't fight to be noticed because by the time you notice them, they're already 10 steps ahead. Are the one who posts on Instagram and take things lightly after a good TEDx speech, or are you the one who put efforts and make things workable? Comment down below. See you all in next video.